All right, welcome back, everybody. Season 5 of Mind Over Music. I'm your host, Sean Molodino. So happy to be with everyone this evening. Tonight, we have a very fun, special guest. The one and only Sophia Unver is with us tonight. What's up, Sophia? How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, we're so excited to have you too. And you are running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 6. And, and that covers Castle Hills, Carrollton, and Louisville, or a part of Louisville, but it's Denton County in general.
Correct.
And it is such an incredibly important role. And, a lot of people don't understand really what the Justice of Peace is, the roles that it covers, but we know for sure that you are going to be heavily involved in weddings, which includes the nikah ceremony. And it's such a pain today to have to go to your respective non-alternative church, right, which is your mosques, your Jamaat khanas, your temples, so on and so forth, and then get it re-legitimized by the state. And so that's something that we actually were working on with Salman Bajani, whose campaign you worked on as well, and you worked for him for a few years at state capitol. But you also cover truancies, and as well as evictions. These are some really important times, especially with today's economy. We're seeing that people are over borrowing, and the credit ratings for not only individuals but institutions are way overextended.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that, especially with this holiday season, we might have some delinquencies of credit cards and things of that sort, and that's going to directly impact not only evictions, but if you get evicted, then possibly truancies. And so it's this ecosystem that's heavily dependent on ensuring that there is stability, and with that, along with that comes taking care of people at a very deep level.
Sean, are you running for Justice of the Peace?
No, I'm just setting you up.
No, I love it.
Setting up the pins, and you're gonna
knock them down.
Bow them down. So Sophia, yeah, thank you so much for joining the show today. What you're doing for the community in Castle Hills and Carrollton is going to be absolutely important. Let's get right into it.
Yeah.
We met on a trip to Austin.
Met in the most civic engagement type of way. I feel like I should tell the story.
Please.
So I was actually 2 months postpartum.
Yes.
And as I shared with Sean, and as I shared with really anyone I encountered in the Capitol building, I brought my pillow with me because I still was recovering, and it was, hard for me to stand or sit for too long. And but I was there because I knew it was really important to be there and advocate for our public schools, because at that time, I believe it was March earlier this year, the legislature was still considering, vouchers and how to fund public schools. And, unfortunately,
the commandments.
The commandments in the classrooms. There were just so much really at stake that I, as a 2 months postpartum, probably should have stayed at home, but I felt like it was really important for me to be there to share, to use my voice, because that's something that if we don't use that and we don't stand up for ourselves, we don't stand up for our community, who is going to stand up for us?
Exactly.
And so it's so very important. And I was so proud to see not just, young people or, parents, but I saw so many wonderful grandparents.
Wow.
And, not just, and, we went with an organization, which Sean and I are both very proud of, which is Save Texas, and they advocate.
Shout out Chanda.
Yeah. Shout out Chanda and then the whole board. And the work that they do is just to increase civic engagement within the South Asian community, because there's a lot of us, and we're growing, and we are a large portion of the Texas economy.
Yes.
And we participated in it. And I mean, we are Texans.
Yes. And we're a huge voting bloc.
We're a huge voting bloc.
And we get overseen all the time.
Yeah. And folks know that we are, because who doesn't love to come and participate in iftar dinner, right? Breaking fast, invite an elected official to the mosque or the center for a forum, or introduce ourselves, interfaith, to celebrate Diwali at the temple. We do so many of these things, and folks do show up.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to hear from us to say, hey, things aren't really going the way that they're supposed to, we're paying our taxes, but we're seeing that a lot of our community is struggling.
Right.
And I think what's really wonderful, not just within the community at large, but South Asians in general, like, we're so community driven.
Yes. There's
not one person in our community that needs help that we don't all flock to, right?
This goes to show the ethic of our faith, and I think our ethics really determine, and they are civically very sound. And so when you think about, civic engagement, when we think about employing our ethics within policy, having good representation is absolutely key. When we sit here and we complain about, at the top levels, right? This person is, putting this law together. All politics are local
Yeah,
politics. And if we don't understand how local politics work and how policies are passed, or how they're even, uh, you know, developed out, into becoming bills and things of that sort. If you don't understand how local government works, you're not going to be able to impact the national stance on, specific issues. And then you won't also be able to engage in international issues. I mean, there's so many people that are worried about what's happening, around the world, in Palestine and
absolutely.
things of that sort.
Absolutely.
And unless they understand the dynamics of what's happening in their current and local governments, they are not going to be able to make that impact. It's just not.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And I think something that, I always say, like, can't wait for another person to come up and say, like, I'm running for Congress. And that's great. And I applaud them. But there are so many local positions that affect your day to day,
Yes.
and they affect, the smallest things. Everything you gripe about, if you gripe about something, I want to hear from you. Like, that's the best thing, right? If
Right.
someone's like, I love the way things are growing.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But like the person, I always ask people, like, I don't share, like, what are you passionate about? I'm like, what do you not like?
What do you know?
What's not working? Because that's a problem
Yeah.
that could be fixed.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that means that if it's not working for you, it's probably not working for a lot of people.
And nobody's saying anything.
And nobody's saying anything. And I'll say what my husband, who I disagree with many times, but he's usually
He's a
right.
great guy.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy. Sometimes, like, when
I would say he's very agreeable.
yeah, he's very agreeable. This is very true. This is very true. But sometimes, even when we're driving, for example,
Yeah.
someone cut someone off, or like the light's too long, and I'm like, I say something in the car, and he's like, babe, everyone in the car agrees with you, but like that guy, that lady, like, they can't hear you.
Yeah, right.
And it's true. And that's the same thing for government. We're all complaining about something with our friends, or we're sharing it on social media, and that's great. And I think social media is a powerful tool, but if you're not sharing it to the people who can actually do something about it,
Yes. Yeah, it goes to the void.
Yeah, it goes to the
right?
void. And so you truly have to have someone in the office who not only walks the same roads as you, drives the same roads as you, but also understands the work that needs to be done. So with Justice of the Peace, I think something that, I feel like is a very is a skill set that can be utilized here, is the fact that not only have I come from a family that has needed the needs that the Justice of the Peace Court can provide, but also that I've worked in nonprofit.
Yeah.
I've worked in government, and I now, I'm very fortunate to sit on boards of nonprofits. And so, having seen the equation, if you will, from multiple sides, I can see there are parts where, like, someone else or another sector can, like, fill in.
Yeah.
Because all the solutions can't be, one body's solution to fix, because it won't work that way. So really, it's a whole, just like a person, we're a holistic community. We have needs, and we want to make sure that we're treating it such. And so this is a court that has so much power to be able to fairly, with justice, provide a verdict, but also to be able to share resources that are available.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in the state law that says that you cannot do that. So,
Right.
You were sharing, rightfully so, about eviction courts. So, making sure that tenants understand what their rights are, because the state law does have rights, right? A lot of people don't know what their rights are. And so if you don't know what your rights are, you don't even know what you can and can't do. And so a lot of people get, thrown into this, like, shame and crisis mode. And if you've been in crisis, like, that's not the time to sit down and be like, let me just read calmly and dissect information that could help me.
Let me open this pamphlet.
Yeah, let me just go through this 48-page
Right.
pamphlet. I mean, it's
Right.
not going to happen realistically. So I think it's really important when we look at solutions, not just to say, like, okay, great, let me give them a binder.
Right.
A person in crisis is not looking at a
No, no,
binder.
yeah, absolutely.
They don't have the capacity to at that time.
You mentioned something really amazing, which is not only that you're going to create and raise resources, but you already have a lot of resources in place, right? I mean, for people who are facing evictions, for example, you were talking about how the Texas Workforce Commission that gives unemployment benefits is now connecting to the courts, and they're saying, okay, well, if at the end of the day it's about childcare and money, let's find this person a position where childcare is provided during training and they'll make more money.
Right.
Let's get people back to work. Let's get people back on their feet without evicting them, because that's a very long and annoying
Right.
process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And not just for the tenant, but for the landlord. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think again, we don't want to just look at one part of the equation because it doesn't work. It's not
Yes.
sustainable.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is create an imbalance. What we want to do is make sure that we're creating meaningful landlord and tenant relationships so that if a landlord sees something like they're noticing someone is slowly getting late on their rent, ding, 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 that's an indicator that maybe that family, that person is struggling, and that making sure they have access to information that they need so that they can be supportive of that. Because at the end of the day, they don't want to have to evict
Right.
someone. That's
Right.
really costly.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of
It
time.
takes a lot of
And
time.
then you have to find a new tenant.
I mean, no one wants to do that extra work.
Yes.
And that's okay to say that, right?
And yeah, you're not going to get your deposit.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I didn't want to talk about that. But it's true. And we know this, like the federal government's funding, how they're doing things is kind of changing very rapidly. And so states, counties, local governments, and also nonprofits are like trying to fill the gaps, but they also don't know when and where they'll appear.
Yeah.
So even now, I mean, I sit on monthly conferences with a variety of partners across Denton County around housing and homelessness.
Yeah.
And we meet with partners who provide utilities assistance, rental assistance, workforce commission, for example. Everyone is trying to solve or help in the same in many different facets, right? Food pantries. And so it's like if you are a person in crisis and you're coming for one thing,
Yeah.
what's a way that that person can say, hey, we also have these other things?
Right.
Because that's not your first crisis thing that you're thinking about, that's probably to follow. And so how can we help you and meet you where you are versus saying, come back another day, find some time, figure out where to put your kids, take time off work. I mean, that's just not sustainable.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think, again, we need to create systems that work for working families. So if you are facing eviction, for example, well, court is like during the workday. And so you're going to have to miss work, which you're already very desperately wanting to cling on to because you were getting evicted.
Right.
Now you have to miss work at least one day, if not another, if the court, date changes or something runs long. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that makes no sense, right?
Right.
Someone would say like that's a flawed equation. And so making sure that we're also allowing for night courts. I mean, not every single day, but where it's possible so that those families who are like, hey, listen, like I really cannot miss work because this is just it's going to make this hard situation impossible.
Right. Right.
And so the goal is what? The goal is to keep people housed. The goal is to keep people in their jobs. The goal is to keep kids in schools.
Yeah.
And that's another big facet of Justice of the Peace Court is truancy. And so I know a lot of people, look at that and think like, the kids are just missing school. And I'll tell you a personal story. I'm very outgoing. Yeah, I'm very social, but I, like many people, like struggle with anxiety. I mean, life can be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, it was really hard. I really struggled with the transition of middle school to high school, and I missed a lot of days of school.
Wow. Why?
I just had a lot of anxiety.
Wow.
So I would like go to school and then like, maybe once a month or maybe twice a month, I felt like I just couldn't do it. And so I just like stayed home.
Whoa. And what was it like? Was it like something that you felt like judgment, like you couldn't make friends, or like your performance, or like...
I don't know. I think it was I just felt like a very new environment.
Yeah.
And I was just struggling to fit in, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, you're a high school student, you're ninth grade,
right. You just feel like you're the center, like everyone's looking at you, and you're just like in the middle of this school.
And I had, I mean, ninth grade problems. My best friends weren't in my classes. We were in a bigger school and I never saw them. And it just became very difficult. I maintained good grades, but then I got a letter in the mail and it was very official. And it was from like truancy court, basically saying like, you are in danger of being truant.
Wow.
Now imagine you're a kid with anxiety. You're like, oh God,
yeah, I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble. This is terrible. Like, I mean,
a good kid that makes good grades.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh no. And so, I mean, I felt even more stressed. But, luckily my parents were also like, okay, whoa, these are a lot of days, like here and there, you don't notice it, but when you have it in front of you, like the dates, you're like, oh wow, okay, you're missing a lot of school. We need to get to the bottom of this. So I'm really fortunate that I had good grades and I had parents who were supportive, and also, teachers and counselors who were like, okay,
Yeah, because
Really
when
this
you were in ninth grade, anxiety wasn't a thing. Nobody even
yeah,
knew how to spell
yeah, it was just
anxiety.
like yeah, now we have a whole song about it. Now
N-E-X-N-I-T.
now we have a whole song about it, but, I mean, I just knew, like, I would get tummy aches, and then it was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I can't do this,"
yeah,
but that's just I mean, that's just one example, right?
yeah.
And so I was because I had, a really good support around me and I luckily was able to maintain my grades, we were able to, like, clear the whole situation up. We didn't have to go to truancy
Wow.
court. Nothing appeared on, like, my,
Yeah,
record or whatever, but
yeah.
there are a myriad of issues. Um, some, very serious, obviously. We're dealing with post-COVID too. There's just, like, mental health is just it's really tough. It's a tough time to be a kid. It's a tough time to and, economics is changing, the world is changing. It's a lot to bear, and
Mm.
sometimes I've had people be like, I've seen that kid. He's got small shoulders. It's too much of the world to bear,
Wow,
and it's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
So making sure that those kids and those families understand sort of like what is happening
Mm.
and that there is an opportunity for like rehabilitation there,
Yeah,
right? What does
yeah,
that look like? And how can we help you? Because the goal again is to keep you in school. We
yeah,
don't want to like make you miss school.
yeah.
And if you're someone who doesn't have school age children, you're like, I don't care about that. Let me tell you something. You should care about that because our state, the state of Texas, funds public schools based on kids in class.
Attendance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
attendance, not enrollment,
right.
attendance.
Attendance, yeah.
So every day that a child is not in school costs the school district, anywhere from $33 to $55 a
A
day
day per student.
per kid.
Yeah, yeah.
And so again, look at the whole equation. The goal even for the school to say, "Hi, we need to pay our teachers and to keep our school lights on." Like ideally every kid would be in class.
Mm.
And so we're never going to have 100% solutions for everything. But if we're not trying and if we're not being creative and we're not working and listening to other people say, let's try something new here,
Yeah.
let's give it a chance, see, like, did this work? Did this not work? Like, then I'm not really sure, like, what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because you can't keep doing the same thing. What is it? Like,
Do the same thing over and
insanity.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting
Expecting
a
a different
difference.
result.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's interesting because we did go into a little bit of your ninth grade experience, but I before we dive even further deeply into this, because the gist of the piece, it actually relates to so many things, right? I mean, you're talking about household economics. We're talking about education, public education. You're talking about best practices in terms of legitimizing your marriage and things of that sort. But tell me, I think everybody wants to know. We dove right into it, but I think we should take a step back and really understand who Sophia Anwar is, right? Let's talk a little bit about your experiences. What kind of got you to this point, and why this role in government? Why now?
yeah, no, that's a really great question. So, I think my story is probably very similar to a lot of people's stories. We immigrated to Texas in the 90s.
Mm.
My parents like packed up their life from Pakistan and moved here with 3 kids, and we're like,
Mm.
we are now
We
Americans.
are
Let's do
American,
this.
America.
Yeah, yeah, America. My mom would say like, America में हम सीधे side में drive करते हैं, यहाँ पे like
See this side.
see the rakhna hai. Like this is the right place. People here drive on the right side of the road
Got it,
as a way to like remember to drive on the right side of the road. Because that was like the belief, right? Like you come here and you do things the right way and things run the right way here. Like,
Yeah,
government works.
It's not corrupt when.
Yeah, it's not
so-
corrupted.
so-
The
yeah.
government works and people work hard. And I think that's how sort of like that 90s, immigrant family or even young working class family, like that's how they were able to grow,
Mm.
right? Like they worked hard, they raised kids in their community, and then they bought homes, and it was a
Yeah.
very like community feel. Like you
Yeah.
knew all your neighbors.
Focused on education.
Yeah, you knew your neighbors, you
Mm.
knew your kids' school,
We'd
things
be
like that.
outside playing all
Yeah,
day.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
so like you knew like, oh hey, this person's like they just had a baby, or this person like, oh, their grandma's sick, let's go by. Like, I mean, I think it was a very community supportive space.
Yeah, we loved our neighbors.
We loved our neighbors, and we knew our neighbors.
Yes,
Even crazier. We
Yeah,
knew them.
we knew them.
Yeah. And my dad, we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. My first bedroom and the one I shared for many years was like a computer table, which we like did our homework on, a twin bed, which was my Barbie bed, and then another little table with That was like my dresser.
Mm.
Another twin bed, which was my brother's. That was a small dresser that had our small little TV, which
Oh,
we watched
wow.
WWF on
That's
because I
awesome.
was the youngest kid. So that's what
Were
we
were you
watched.
the Attitude Era?
Oh, I
Who's your
mean,
favorite wrestler?
Undertaker was really
Oh,
good.
Undertaker's
Triple
awesome.
H,
Triple H is awesome.
Stephen F.
Stephen
Austin.
F. Oh, Stone Cold, baby.
Oh, Stone
316.
Cold. You had to be really, and The Rock. I mean, The Rock was good, but it's like Stone Cold Steve Austin had this whole
It was so
dynamic.
cool. Yes.
Then you had the Stephanie McMahon and all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stephanie
So
McMahon was awesome.
yes, WWF was
Kane, I
like
loved Kane.
WWF was like
It's good.
big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
And then my other brother had like another twin bed. So like that was our bedroom.
Yeah.
And it was also where we were very lucky to have like a washer dryer unit.
Right.
And a bathroom. That was a purposeful room,
I'm
right?
telling you.
And we had like a small kitchen, probably the size of this like table here.
Yep.
And that's where I learned how to rollerblade indoors
Wow.
because
Oh,
there was like no open safe space to learn how to rollerblade because right in front of our apartment building was the road, right?
Right.
Like that's where the cars went through.
wow.
And I was in elementary school, so it was really important for me to learn how to rollerblade.
Right.
So I did that in our kitchen.
Do you still know how to rollerblade?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
What do you mean you didn't have a
No,
birthday party at
I'd
a
fall.
scholar rink?
Nope.
The
I would
roller rink?
fall on my bum.
Oh no.
But I
that
know how
was
to
very
ride a
important.
bike and swim. But
there you
yeah,
go.
can't do the rollerblading.
But that's how I grew up. And so I remember I actually had this conversation with my dad probably like a few years ago. And I was just like, you guys, you like moved to America. Like, what were you thinking?
yeah.
And I'm saying that now because I have children. And if my husband was just like, hey, we're going to move to another country and like just reestablish our whole life, I'd be like, no. Are you insane?
What is out there?
Like, why would we do that? Like, we have to uplift and move everything. But I was like, how did you guys do that? Like, this is before like internet really. And
like all your neighbors, you literally go
just plop and start all over.
Yeah.
And I was like, they had actually just gone to like a family friend's wedding. So I was like, wow, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, one day, I had to get to work in the morning and the car wouldn't start. And I didn't really know what to do. So I walked to the front of the apartment complex. And it's kind of a large one. We were sort of in the middle back. And he was like, and I just kind of like hoped someone would stop. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I just hope someone would stop. And I was really lucky because this other Pakistani guy stopped.
Wow.
And I was like, hey, bye. Like, I have to go to work and my car won't start. Like, tomorrow I could take my car to shop. Like, I can't go now and I have to go to work.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, like that guy was, so nice. And he took me to work. And that's how we became friends.
Insane.
And then they went to like his son's wedding recently. So I was like, oh, that's the origin story of that friendship. But I think back to that, like my dad was like 40 years old, walked to the front of an apartment complex, car's not starting, has to go to work, has 3 kids and a wife that he just like brought to this other country.
Yeah.
And he just, like was like hoping
Somebody
someone would
help.
stop. I mean, imagine doing that now. Like it's not just not like necessarily embarrassment, but you're just kind of like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
I don't have other options here, and so, but they made it work. Right.
Crazy.
And but that's like part of the story. We moved from Pakistan, like I said. So I spoke Urdu first and I was an ESL kid for many years also. And so, but I think this is so many people's stories and this continues to be so many people's stories because this still, despite all the craziness, this still continues to be a country and a state where you really can, if you work really hard, you really can make something for yourself. And you can provide opportunities because in not even one generation, because I also moved here, like I've, been very fortunate to work at the White House, to work in Congress, work at the state legislature. I mean, these are like the wildest dreams that I could have thought of. And really all because I just love connecting people.
Yeah.
And sometimes thinking of ideas of like, well, why don't we just try X? And a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't think of that. Or like, we can't really do that. And I'm like, I think we can try.
We can try it.
I think we can just try and ask.
Yeah.
The worst thing is someone will say
no. Right.
Or they'll be like, we can't do that exact thing.
But we can try.
But we can try something else.
Exactly.
And I think that has, really been the driving force for me. It's been saying like, this is my family story.
Yes.
And there are times in that story that were really hard, and everyone has that. I think there are portions in everyone's life where you can be like, you can pinpoint here is where we were doing really well.
Yeah.
And then right here, through almost no one's fault, but life happened.
Right.
And it happened kind of continuously. And I know everyone has moments like that. Like a parent gets sick, someone else maybe doesn't take an opportunity in their job professionally because they want to be there for their family, or that opportunity professionally falls through and it changes
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go from being a very go along to get along 2-income household, and then
all of a sudden you're in the quicksand. And the more you struggle with it, the faster you drop.
and
And you have no idea how to get
you
yourself
have no
out of
idea
it.
to get yourself out.
And then you feel a level of hopelessness.
Yeah.
And then you feel like it's only happening to you.
Yep.
And, and you're right, because, your dad was very lucky to have somebody, have had somebody like pull over and
Yeah.
do that. And you think about our neighbors today,
Yeah.
that to me, I think, because I have very similar stories, and that was a golden era where
Yeah.
we really were able to connect. And I think, going back to this role, you're bringing this sense of community back, because the people that are in these eviction, circumstances, truancy, they are the unseen.
Yeah.
And they are still a part of our community. And they need to have that level of self-worth, dignity, to be able to have that quality of life. And if they don't have any resources, if they don't have somebody like a Sophia Unver that is running for this role, that can really come in and say, I actually, I don't, it's not only that I care, but I care to establish resources that are sustainable in a way that it's not going to impact the individual, but your taxes that you're paying for,
Yeah.
that are already funding these, it's going to be used in the right way.
In the right way.
Where people actually maintain their dignity, where they have resources, where they're able to actually get out of the circumstance that they just happen to, step in some dirt.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think it's a lot of people think like, well, I think we've created this myth of these things happen to people who don't pay attention, or that
Mhm.
happens to people who are bad with their money. And maybe so in some instances, but that can very quickly become you and I.
I'm telling you, if there is one person out there that doesn't think that they are lucky to
Yeah.
have the fortune, the wealth,
For sure.
that, hey, I'm the smartest person in the room and I got here all by my, no, you did
No,
not.
you did not. No, you
I'm
haven't.
telling you, I am here to tell you.
Yeah, no, for
You did
sure. And
not.
a lot of us are very fortunate that we have communities that can step up
Yes.
to help us.
Yes.
Not everyone is so lucky. And also to have a community that steps up means that that community has the ability to, they're not
Exactly.
also potentially,
Yes.
also in quicksand, or they're not also running on empty. And so making sure that we connect with people early. And again, it's about education.
Mhm.
If it's like anything, you go through something, you're like, why is no one talking about this? This just happened to me and everyone seems to know, no one told me.
All right.
And I'm sure that happens to you. So it's
Often, yeah.
creating that information sharing and, removing the shame and guilt from it, so
Yeah.
that if someone starts down a process where hey, they're getting a little bit behind, you and it's getting colder, utility, prices are going to start going up, utility bills are going to start going up.
Yep.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
This is not something I'm making up, right? And we're seeing even now, SNAP benefits were held up for quite some time.
Yes.
And people literally didn't know when.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's crazy business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the government is actively defunding some very important social welfare programs, and that is going to exacerbate the evictions, the truancies.
Yeah.
It's going to create and lead to more job loss. We're in now the era of AI, where that might happen eventually and inevitably anyway. And the thing is, I think as a community, we need to understand the importance of our dollar, right? One thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about campaign funding and things of that sort. And then we'll have to take a commercial break and we'll come back and do some more. But, I think when we think about how our dollar is our vote, right?
Yeah.
It's so easy for us to boycott things like Coca-Cola or Starbucks or whatever the cool thing is to boycott today. and not give money to institutions that we believe are funding some activities, but we're also not funding the activities that we also want to see in our communities, right? And so, when your campaign is being funded by the community, it is also a vote in and of itself.
Correct.
And the knowledge, the influence, all of those things come right back to serve the individuals who are contributing
Absolutely.
to that campaign. Why do you think, because I don't think that our community really understands the power of financing and helping finance campaigns. What do you think the community is kind of missing here? How are you doing with the campaign financing?
Absolutely. I think it's not just our community. I think it's most people. And I think that learning is purposefully not shared.
Hmm.
And I think it's one of those things where, I'm sure people ask questions, but it's like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, keep moving. You're so busy raising your family. You're doing all the things. Like, you just keep being a good citizen and like go to work and,
Right,
raise your
right.
family and
Get in the rat race and
yeah,
stay
yeah, you
there.
just go do that. And it's true. Like, I mean, even COVID, so many people were like, wait, what's going on?
Right,
Because they were home.
right,
We're like, whoa, raising kids is really hard, right?
right.
Like, they're seeing all, like, not just the mental load, but like the physical load that we're all carrying, but we're just so busy.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, that's kind of what happens with a lot of the folks who end up needing and are vulnerable in these spaces is they're also just on this like constant wheel,
right.
right? So if you had a minute to like breathe without being like stressed or in crisis, like you could thoughtfully create some type of a plan. You could reach out in time and say, hey, it looks like something's happening here. I'm going to need a little bit of help.
Yeah,
Hindsight is 2020.
yeah,
Most people don't get that moment, get that chance. So I think that's something also, but something to also share is like state to state, it's different.
Mhm.
So people famously, very obviously got very excited about Zoran winning.
Yeah,
And yes, obviously we're all very excited about that. But even in New York, they have matching funds.
right.
So, I mean, this is not the exact dollar amount, but you raise 8,000,
Yeah,
they match you
institutions,
8,000.
yep,
Great.
right.
16,000, boom.
Boom, yeah,
I mean, that's great. You're like,
yeah.
listen, we just got to get to 8 and it'll automatically become 16.
Right,
Texas does not work that way.
right.
We don't have any limits.
Yeah.
So one developer can give you a
$100,000 check,
and that's it.
and you're done.
And you're done. Maybe you met them for coffee. Maybe you had a fancy dinner. I don't know.
Right.
But that's it. And
Yeah.
that could be the end of your campaigning.
Yeah.
But you're also now your main shareholder.
Yes,
or
is one
is
check.
one check.
Exactly.
Which is a
Has
developer.
its own special interests.
Right. Which is a
and-
developer. So
Exactly.
now if you're also hoping to get reelected, who do you think you're going to want to
Exactly.
make sure is
Is
happy with you at all times?
Exactly. Yeah.
But as an elected official, I mean, it's public service. And I've said this before because I've worked in customer service too. Public service is customer service. Like it's definitely a glorified version of it, but that's what it is. Ask any sales representative, ask any public official.
Yeah.
Only people who reach out to them are generally upset.
Right. Right.
It's the same skill set there.
Well, you said it yourself. You're like, give me your problems. Give me your
Yeah.
problems. And
Because happy people don't call. Like, tell me last time you
called your senator.
Yeah, and said thank
Yeah.
you for doing a great
Yeah.
job.
No, I gave Senator Cruz an earful.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes also in our community, we look at, I mean, we all have, family members who do well. They're doctors, they're engineers, they're entrepreneurial, the business, and that's great. But we also all have members of our family in our community who it didn't happen like that.
Yes.
They applied, they didn't get in. Their businesses just didn't do well. Right when they launched, the economy tanked. That sector didn't do well. Things happen. And how many times have we been in a group chat or an email thread or at the mall asking someone saying, brother, whatever is in need of help. We have sisters who, have moved here and they're having to relocate. We need XYZ.
Yeah.
And the community flocks.
Yes.
And that's not just our community. I mean, I saw it. I'm sure many of you saw it like on, within your neighborhoods, but also like on Facebook. And people were like, I'm going to create a food pantry, right? Like I'm just going to do it. I'm going to help a friend. Like I'm going to make lasagnas. Like people do want to help.
Yeah.
I truly feel like if we see those in need, like we want to step up because we're like, we don't want our neighbor to go hungry.
Yeah. No, I agree. Sophia, we have to take a quick break.
Yes, we do.
We're going to be back with part two right after these quick commercial messages. Stay tuned. Stay with us on Radio Azad, where your voice matters and Sophia's voice matters.